Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Hi, good morning, badasses. I am sad to say that I am solo today. Cate has been sick this week. And so I hope that you will join me in sending her some white healing light so that she will feel better next week. But we still have a great show planned for you today. She will be here in spirit today because she will actually be doing the interview. We actually recorded it beforehand. And today we have Casey Ferguson that we're going to be interviewing. And so you get to see Cate today because she will be leading that interview. So please also let us know that you are here. Say hello. I also want to remind you that if you are joining us via Facebook, be sure to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and be sure to give it permission to let us know that you are here so we can see your lovely name. I also want to let you know that if this is your first time joining us, we want to make sure that you put in a white heart. That will let us know that this is your first time. I also know, having looked at some of the stats and things like that, that we have a lot of lurkers. So please say hello. Let us know you're lurking today. And so I have a couple people joining us. Carrie says, happy last Friday of May. Awesome. And Kelly is joining us. She said, good morning. And so thank you guys so much for joining us today. And for those that also are on that I can also see, please let us know you're here. We want to be able to say hello. Oh, yes. Hey, good morning, Kim. Good morning. Happy Friday. All right. Awesome. So I want to know, tell me a little bit about what you have coming up this weekend. I know that this is Memorial Day, and a lot of people take time to be able to really celebrate time off. But this is really also a moment this weekend. I want to make sure that we also remember. Sometimes I feel like we tend to forget what this holiday is actually about. It's really about honoring those that have served and lost their lives in U.S. wars. And that was something I sort of realized this morning. And I'm not sure if anyone else sometimes feels this way, but I sometimes get wrapped up in my plans and I forget the true meaning of what this holiday is supposed to be on Monday. So I want to know what you are doing this weekend, but I also want to share with you some of the ways that we can also remember those that that are related to this particular holiday. So at 3 p.m. local time, it is considered National Moment of Remembrance on Monday, and it is an opportunity to pause in an act of national unity for 1 minute of silence. And you may even still find radio stations that observe this moment by playing taps. And so I want to also provide you two resources where you can get you can give back and you can give support for these for Memorial Day. And so I'm going to add those in here in the little chat. So I have just added that, but this is also a way that we can remember fallen soldiers over Memorial Day. I also want to remind you that next Friday, Cate hopefully will be back, and we will be talking about intuition. This is actually one of my favorite topics. I really love it. And it really is just so important to be able to learn to trust yourself. And so awesome. I see that Rick has joined us. Happy Friday. I also have a Facebook user, so I'm not sure who you are, but they said good morning. And then Carrie is letting us know, my dad always said at our cookouts growing up, let's remember those that can't join us at this barbecue. So that's so true. Thank you for sharing that, Carrie. And so let us know what you're up to. This particular interview will be a little bit different because we have recorded it. So I'm actually, as I go off, as we jump into this, I will actually be interactive. So I want to make sure that let us know your thoughts as we go through this. And I will also be interacting with you live. So let's jump into our interview. Today's episode is number 11. And for those that are into numerology, you might know that this is a significant number. It's called a master number 11, and it is about advancing on our spiritual journey. And that's really what Casey has done through coming out of darkness, which is what we called today's episode. As we go through our interview, we will talk about the evolution of Casey's mindset. And for some of you, you might remember that I posted about 9 months ago that we were looking for help, and we received kindness from people that he knew, as well as complete strangers that really were instrumental in helping him in his journey. So before we start, I want to say that if you can relate to Casey's story, you can have some amazing and supportive people around you, but no one can really do the work except for you. So just remember that as you are listening to Casey's interview today. This includes dealing with your past traumas, giving yourself and others grace, but also reframing your mindset and discovering self-love. All of our past show topics roll up into this particular interview. And this doesn't mean you have to figure out everything. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you've figured out everything, that you still don't have negative thoughts. I was actually talking with Casey yesterday about some different things, and I was telling him even about negative thoughts I was having. He's like, see, everybody has negative thoughts. And so it's just a reminder that it just means that we need to catch those thoughts and we need to reframe them. And so I really appreciate Casey's interview today because his vulnerability really demonstrates what it means to be a badass. And I hope that you were inspired by him, by his story. So as I said, we'll be interactive today. I'll be posting things. And so without further ado, here is Casey.
Well, hello. Today we have Casey Ferguson joining my wonderful co-host, Sarah Gonnella. Hi, Casey.
Hey.
Nice to
How are
meet
you?
you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I am doing well today. Thank you. Thanks for being willing to join us. This
It's good.
There's a nice sigh there. Thanks for being real, man.
I was ordered to volunteer.
You know, sometimes we're compelled to do things that we don't really understand why. And this might be one of them, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. This is definitely one of them.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you for jumping in feet first. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, Casey. So why don't you first tell me how you guys know each other? How did you meet?
We met through her husband, who I went to school with, at a time when I needed to be pulled out of the fire, pretty much.
Okay.
And I would say that Casey and I met at a reunion.
Yep.
About 7 years prior,
Yeah.
something along those lines. So we had met each other there, but it was also two of Jay's mutual friends with him that reached out to me to ask for assistance.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So you went to high school or grade school?
Both, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with Jay, and then stayed in contact and ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were both on the football team together.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Who
Middle
was-
school and football. Huh?
Who was faster, you or Jay?
Jay, of course. Catch him.
Awesome. So when you say pull you out of the fire, and these other two friends, mutual friends as well, reached out, what was going on for you, Casey?
Well, I had spent a little time in jail. I'd gotten in trouble for some stupid shit. And when I got out, I was working and I moved from where I was to be closer to my kids and pretty much made myself homeless in doing that. And I
Okay.
spent about 6 or 7 months in the woods by myself. And then a friend of ours got in touch with me and then got in touch with G. I call her G. I don't call her Sarah.
Okay.
I have my own reasons why. But they got in touch with Sarah and she came and got me. And yeah.
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 And so we first communicated with each other via phone and mostly text.
Yeah.
And communicating back and forth. And then I wanted to make sure that I was doing something for him to try to get him in a more safe situation.
Yeah.
And I actually went down to where he was at. And for a while there, his friend had him in a hotel.
Okay.
And for a while there, we had him down where he was at. But I felt like in order for me to really help him, I needed him closer to us. And
Yeah.
it had been a little while since my husband had connected with him. And I wanted to have my husband reconnect with him. And I went down, and I remember when I saw Casey, we were talking about this, and it's almost as if the first time you see an animal that has been beaten down and is scared about their surroundings, I could tell that the things that were bothering Casey really were related to safety and the necessities in life. And so when he got into the car with me, I remember him just feeling like he was very much on high alert, like looking around, that type of mentality. And I let him know that first and foremost, before you can really focus on yourself, it's really about feeling safe. You got to have the necessities in life. So we first put him up in a hotel up here. My husband went and had lunch with him, and then he moved in with us for a little while.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot there, Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
This
lot.
is the Reader's Digest condensed version.
Perfect. Yeah. And you don't have to share anything that you don't feel comfortable sharing, of course.
Right.
But so you mentioned you wanted to move closer to your kids.
Mhm.
But in order to do that, you left a job.
Yep.
And so is that essentially what kind of led to the homelessness?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, without getting into a lot of detail, I had a substantial little chunk of money that I gave to my kids' mom to take care of them and put them in a better place. And she took that money and went to Michigan.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I didn't really get the chance to spend any time with my kids. Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Yep. Just a little bit.
So what else was anything else going on for you at the time? I mean, when you were in such high alert, right? Do you remember that? Do you remember feeling like you were super alert when you were sitting in that car with Sarah for the first time?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, were you terrified?
No, I mean, just wary.
Just fucking tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How long had you been living in the woods?
6, 7 months.
Wow.
Yep,
That's a long time.
it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for them to understand also where you were at mindset wise prior to your friends reaching out to you, because that's one of the reasons they reached out to you, is you had put something out asking for help.
I don't remember doing that, but
No?
I'm sure that I did.
Yeah.
I was ready to punch my own ticket. Really,
Right.
I'd had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't remember reaching out for help, but
No.
clearly you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that kind of shows you how kind of intense it was for you, right? You don't
Yeah.
even remember that, but you know, you can remember the time of feeling just absolutely
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed.
And-
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't reach out directly to them. It was over Facebook. It was more of a plea for help. And they happened to
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and they saw it, and so that's what made them reach out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I'm glad they did.
Yeah. No, yeah. Me too.
Mhm.
Really glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you now? How are things, you know?
I'm good. I have a place to stay. I have 2 jobs really. I mean,
Wow.
one is just a job. The other one is what I want to do.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm doing good. I'm listening to the lessons that I've learned from this one.
Gee. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I hear your voice every day,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah.
Well, that's good. It's better
Tell
than
me more.
some of the other voices you
Yeah.
used to hear.
Yeah. True. Very true. I don't hear them
Yeah.
so much anymore.
So what was it? What is it? You were 6 to 7 months in the woods. Then you transitioned up here. And then you eventually started living with Sarah, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And what did that time feel like?
Like pulling teeth,
Yeah. Why?
because G pushes you.
Yeah.
She knows what needs to be done, and she'll try and sway you to go the right way. And then when you don't do exactly the way she wants you to do it, then she lets you know. And she's right. She's right. Everything that she tried to tell me and teach me is absolutely 100% the truth.
Yeah. Well, what a blessing, right?
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Jay did good.
He sure did. I agree.
Aw.
And he did not do
He didn't do a damn
shabby
thing.
at all.
He didn't
Yeah.
have to do shit.
And I saw a lot in Casey. I saw someone that really had gone through some things, not only recently in his life, but also as we started talking, he really didn't value himself. And that's really the first thing that we really focused on, was he didn't feel like he deserved happiness. He didn't feel like he deserved to even be here at a particular point in his life.
Right.
So we really focused in on some of the things that, why it is that he thought that. So that critical inner voice, and whose voice was it that he really heard. And we talked about some of those things in where it is that was coming from, and for him to recognize that when he felt those ways, to recognize first and foremost that that's not your voice, that's someone else's voice. So part of it is just awareness, then acknowledging it, and then also telling yourself the opposite, like, I do deserve happiness. And so that's one of the first things we really focused on.
you have to listen to that voice. You have to hear it and actually listen to it,
Yeah.
and then you can tell it to fuck off or or whatever you have to do. But being able to recognize that, I would have never figured that out. It just would have
Yeah.
gone on and on and on.
Did you
Circles.
have a feeling, Casey, like that you were missing something in life that,
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
yeah.
Yeah. Like a
But you
storm cloud.
what?
Like a storm cloud was always over my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also felt like he deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I did.
Was it like mistakes you made or
Yeah.
decisions you
Oh, yeah.
made?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also went through a bout of understanding, taking ownership also of the things of how he also got to the point of where he was at.
Mm-hmm.
Because at first he really focused on it being everyone else's, like they did this to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was some of the things we also really focused on as well, is that in life, our choices and the way we choose to think about ourselves, or we have a choice in life in how it is that we want our situation to be. And that took a long time to really get through to Casey, is to understand you have a choice in the matter. Everything you believe is a choice. How you feel about life, whether you love, whether you hate, that's a choice. And he would argue with me like, no way, like I feel anger and I don't have any control over that.
Yeah. But, you also told me what you put out is what you get in.
Right.
And that's the truth. So instead of bitching and complaining or blaming somebody else for your bullshit, just suck it up and own it and don't put it back out there.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the other things, because as we were, one of the things that happened that it was funny, because he would tell me the things that I couldn't do. This won't happen. This won't happen for me. You won't be able to do this. And I proved to him time and time again, like not only seconds, but minutes and days, I would have things done for him. We had some very generous people, not only that didn't even know him, but people that also did know him, that helped us to raise enough money to get him a vehicle, which was important for him to be able to work.
Right.
We had someone that ended up giving him a job right from the beginning. Now that ended up not working out, but that's okay. Sometimes things don't work out.
Yep.
Right.
But it got him to the next level. And I remember him telling me when we were going into somewhere, he was like, they're not going to let us in. He's like, they're not going to let us in because of me. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And then we get in. And he's like, he was like, how did you do that? And I was like, you have this thought of you're going to be able to do it. And he was like, shit, like.
It's a Jedi mind trick on these people. That's DMV. You're not getting in. You're not getting in.
Yeah, the DMV tried telling us that we were too late. And I was like, come on, you can let us in. And so they ended up letting us in and letting us through.
And it worked.
Oh my gosh. That is some powerful Jedi mind shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the DMV.
Yeah. Yes.
So I've been through some of that before, Casey, where you feel this darkness and then you realize like, shit, a lot of it is me, right? Like not in the way that I thought it was, right?
Right.
For years you think, oh, it's me, I'm the problem, or I deserve this shit or whatever. And then when you finally make the realization that you can change it, and one of the ways you start is just by loving yourself.
Yep.
That for me, that was a huge realization, but connecting my behaviors to that was hard for me. It was really, I had a lot of behaviors connected that were to my my self-hate, and to change all of those, Did you struggle with any of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been struggling with that my whole life.
Yeah.
My my dad was a coach.
Okay.
And if you're a coach's son, then you're going to be under the spotlight from day one.
Right.
And if you don't do it the right way, or you're going to hear about it, and you're going to do it over and over and over and over again until you're like, well, I'm just not going to get this. And then you get that reinforcement that you didn't do that the right way, and that just continues. And when you're a little kid, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. That becomes a part of you, who you are from being formed in that environment, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about is that critical inner voice was his dad. That's what he heard. And the other thing that I tried getting him to understand is that his dad probably has been through some shit in his life as well. And it's also extending grace to him and understanding and empathy for him of what it is he may have gone through, and that he may not have the tools or even knowledge of what he may still need to work on. And so sometimes you have to give people grace, but I also told them that we were just talking about this beforehand about you still have to set boundaries. You still have to say, like, this isn't acceptable, and this is how I'm going to handle the situation. So setting those boundaries and those things, but also giving someone empathy that they're just not there in their journey. And I told him that he's really breaking some cycles in his lineage. So
How
does that feel to hear?
Good. Empowering, like I don't have to deal with that shit. You can keep it, and it's all right. I don't worry about it anymore. I don't let it bother me. I don't let it bother me.
Yeah. I think it's also important to talk about what we call light switch moment that happened in your life, that the change that I saw from Casey in the struggles that he had and what it is that happened that made you.
Oh, I thought I got scared. I went to the hospital because I was sick, and they took an x-ray, and there was a mass in my stomach. And the emergency room doctor, not having very good bedside manner at all, said, "It looks like you have a pretty substantial sized tumor here, Mr. Ferguson. You have cancer." And I was,
oh my God,
what? So yeah. So I thought, well, shit, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And
you had just started to live.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that turned out that was not the case, and I'm all right. But still, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I guess, and she says she sees it. I didn't see it. Of course, I don't see it, but I guess that's when I did really wake up.
I saw a switch in him. Like I saw him finally say, I'm not going to live the way I was living. Like I really, even though he had thoughts of suicide in the past, this was a wake-up call for him that I really do want to live, and I really control my destiny. And I noticed a complete difference after that happened in how it is that he approached life. That it really was, sometimes it takes the worst thing to potentially happen to you for you to realize how much you really want in life.
Very true.
Yeah, I've experienced that. That fear that I'm sure you felt when you thought you got this death sentence, right? What did that cause you to do? I mean, were you not? I mean, it sounds like there was a little bit of like, oh my God, I can't, I'm going to die. But
I mean, I like to call it like my immortal mentality, kind of like
yeah,
I don't care what is going to happen. I'm going to be okay. If this isn't going to kill me. I'm not gonna allow this to slow me down or keep me from doing something that I want to do or something that I should do. Pretty much.
okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave you
A boost.
a
Yeah.
boost, like you wanted to fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of wanted to create a life worth living, right?
Right. And nobody's going to tell me I can't do something. I'll figure a way. I'll figure it out. Doesn't matter what it is. If I
Well,
want to do it, I'm going to do it.
you sound a lot like, the person you're sitting on the couch with.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome. Were there moments when you were dealing with that, when you were going through that, where you would just stop and look back and remember Casey in the woods, right? Like, how did I get from there
to
here?
Like when I took all my clothes and things out of storage, which I didn't have much, but I was going through my stuff and I found 2 T-shirts that I'd had when I was in the woods, and they're just beat up and the collar is all ripped out of them and they're just disgusting. So why did you keep this? And then in the back of my head, you kept it so you remember it, asshole.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because even though you don't want to spend time in the negative, maybe headspace, you still want to remember where you came from, right?
You have to remember. You have to, or you'll get lost again.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who was in prison for many years and isn't. And he has some reminders that he keeps around just to kind of show him on a regular basis how far he came, right? So you're doing that for the experience in the woods, do you feel like you're going to do that for other experiences now?
Yeah, of course.
Good. That's wonderful. So, what other things, like you came to live with Sarah, and how did you get from, you did some internal work, you figured out how to love yourself and that you don't have to live by this bullshit you're telling yourself, right? What other, and then you got, the car. There's some tactical safety things that you had to do first, it sounds like. And then what other things that you do that kind of helped you feel comfortable to go and be on your own again,
I don't know.
Talk about maybe some of the shadow work of things that you worked on.
I don't know about the shadow work. I don't know what you're talking about.
So Casey is, one of the things that he's really good at is he's a really amazing artist. He also plays the didgeridoo, and which I had never heard of until I met him. But one of the things we really focused on was finding therapeutic ways to get more in touch with himself. And so I got him artwork supplies, and he really...
She got me some paint and some brushes, and I went to town. I don't know how many paintings I did while I was here, but a lot. And I didn't know what half of them were when I started to paint them. And then I would step back and look at it and be like, oh my God, what is that? Who are these people? What is this picture about? It's some really dark shit.
Yeah.
Some were really dark, and that's what I call shadow work, finding some of the inner demons that are within us and working through those things. And other things were just beyond beautiful. Just landscapes, things like that, animals, people. And so it was interesting to watch him transition and work through those things through art.
Sorry, I got paint on your floor.
That's more Jay.
Yeah. That is hard, right? But well, that's really cool. I would love to see some of your art at some point.
I've got photos, and that's one of the things I definitely want to share to our audience is his artwork.
That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
So did you know that? I mean, was this like kind of the first time you painted, or
no,
you were interested in art?
Yeah. No, I've painted before.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
You just hadn't done it in a while,
I hadn't picked up a brush in 3 years, and G got me some brushes and some paint, and that's all it took.
Mm-hmm.
I went to town.
And some of the darker stuff, did you have a sense after when you looked at it, like that it was helping you release something, like maybe trauma?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. Are you still painting?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Matter of fact, I'm in the middle of one right now.
That's awesome. I love it. So you have new
space to do it.
What?
You just have to have the space to do it, you know?
Yeah.
You can't be running around the streets and trying. Well, I mean, you can if you're tagging buildings, but
different
I'm
kind
too
of art.
old and slow. I can't get away from the cops like that.
No, right. Yeah, it's hard to paint if you're living in the woods, right?
It's true. It's very true.
So is it mainly the 3, you said you didn't pick up a brush in 3 years. Was it, 3 years of turmoil and kind of trauma?
Yep. Time locked up, and then just not having any space or anything to do it with, really.
Right.
But I wasn't in the spot to do that anyway. You have to be inspired to actually pick up a brush, and
right.
I wasn't at all.
Yeah. And it goes back to that you got to feel safe first in order to do the work.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. And once you have a little kind of basis of safety, and then you add in some self-love, it makes
you can breathe.
Yeah, you can breathe. And that I'm sure the act of painting itself feels like you're loving yourself, right?
Yeah, I guess I can look at it like that. Yeah.
Like you're investing time into doing something that you enjoy and that you're passionate about. And it sounds like it can be a little healing too.
Oh yeah.
Where'd you learn the didgeridoo?
I taught myself. It took me 15 years to learn how to breathe right, but I did it.
Wow. Where'd you get one to start with?
I made it.
He makes it.
Yeah.
He's really good also at artwork or at woodwork. So
whittling and woodwork.
Yeah, things.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I'll take a solid piece of wood and hollow it out.
Yeah.
How cool.
I mean, it's the oldest woodwind instrument in the world.
Yeah. You and my eldest son would get along.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he really loves to whittle and loves knives and cutting stuff. So I had a didgeridoo that I had a friend in college bring me from Australia.
Really?
And and I don't know where it is. I had a lot of moves, but I'll tell you a quick funny story.
Okay.
My parents were moving me from an apartment in college to another place, and my dad apparently thought this was a bong, for a long time. So he was like, oh, we'll just pack, give me that bong that'll fit in here. And I was like, you thought I just have been displaying this bong in my dorm room and all these other places for years? And he's like, yeah, I just assumed it was a bong. I'm like, and you never asked? And he's like, no.
Well, he must be a pretty cool dad if he just said it was a bong.
He is, but it was pretty funny that I was like, no, it's a didgeridoo. So, well, so you have to be a fairly determined and motivated person to work on something for 15 years and in order to master it.
But that's just because I don't learn anything easy. Everything has to be the hard way. And as soon as I figured out how to do it, I felt really stupid. Like it really took me this long to do this when there's 5-year-olds over in Australia that can play it for 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, I felt really silly.
But there aren't like resources out there to learn to do this at the time, I'm sure. And
No, you're right.
right. So
They probably had people that
Oh yeah,
they were able to look at that had that
And
type
learn,
of experience.
yeah.
yeah. It's not like this day and age where you can just go into YouTube and learn anything you ever need to do, right?
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Almost anything. Now, yeah, you can. Are you going to do it practically? You're going to do it right? Probably not.
Right.
Probably not. You got to learn from somebody else, I think. Like
That's awesome. So, so in a couple of the stories you've already told, Sarah using her Jedi mind tricks, did she help you with, I mean, you talked about the shadow work, but did she kind of get you on the manifesting train as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you believe that you can do something, throw it out there. You're probably going to do it.
One of the things we talked about is getting in alignment as well. So we talked about that when you're manifesting things, you really have to get into alignment with your higher self because your higher self wants the best for you.
You have to believe it.
Yep. And it's going to put obstacles in your way. And when you are facing obstacles, it's telling you you need to realign yourself. You're not on the right path. And I think that's one of the reasons he also got the scare for cancer is it was like, all right, I've tried everything. So I'm going to throw this at you. And I think that it was finally the thing that really, at least that's what I saw, is it was the thing. When he told me, I said to myself, he doesn't really have cancer. Like this is an obstacle that's in his way that is forcing him in some ways, because as he said, he has to take the hardest path possible. But it finally was something that ended up getting him to see that he really wanted more from life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you would have told me that when I told you, though.
Well, then you wouldn't have learned the lesson.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And when you're really scared, something like that can sometimes feel unsupportive, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I'm glad you didn't say it. I probably would have. Yeah, you're right.
And like he said, that wasn't the first time he had heard that. Him and his wife started to work or talk to each other again. And it was one of the things that sort of sent him spiraling whenever he was with us. And one of the things that I told her is that he really needs to work on himself. Like you can't be with someone else because he's relying on you for these things that he hasn't learned to rely upon himself for. And so it was a really hard lesson, I think, for both of them. She ended up parting ways from him in order to get him to really focus on himself.
Yeah, it was a big, big trick.
Yeah. But it was also for him to finally work on himself because he wasn't focusing on himself.
Nope.
And finally made him really start to look inward.
Yeah. So was your value or like the way you valued yourself, was it kind of wrapped up in the way she felt? Or
no. I'm like, okay, so my goal, the only goal that I had was to reconcile with her,
Mhm.
you know, and she wasn't, well, now I know. She didn't see that I was ready for that. And so I had to go through all this garbage in order to come back around.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
But
really had to do with the fact that he wasn't doing the inner work
Hmm.
for himself. And in a lot of ways, he would rely upon this other person to help regulate him
okay.
versus him being able to regulate himself and do the hard work in figuring out his how to deal with things on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she waited, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
She's a good girl.
Yeah. That's, that's a pretty wonderful testament to your
Absolutely.
relationship and to her belief in you,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
How was that? I mean, I'm sure that was heartbreaking for you in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Because
No, I mean, it drove me insane.
Hmm.
I was crushed, but I stood up and got over it and just dealt with every day by myself, you know, and figured out how to do that and still actually care about myself
Hmm.
and not rely on somebody else caring for me. You know, it doesn't matter. I could be sitting here by myself and I'd be just fine.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
but before, no, I couldn't. No, you couldn't convince me of that. Trust me, we went round and round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and G?
And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And it was just like the episode that we did on our inner self. It had to do with the fact that I was trying to get him to understand, just like the analogy of when you're in a on an uh, up in a plane, they tell you to put on your own mask before someone else's, and I said you're relying upon her mask right now.
Mhm.
Like her mask is what you're needing to breathe. You're not focusing on you. You're not focusing on how you can be your best self, because you can't be your best self for someone else if you don't love you. If you don't love you, then how can you really love someone else? Because you haven't spent the time doing the work that you need to internally.
Yeah.
And it really does boil down to a partnership is what it should be. And a partnership is someone that is self-reliant, able to take care of themselves, and then give their whole self to that other person,
Hmm.
not I need this other person to make me whole.
Right.
To fill in the gaps or
Hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
But we're not, a lot of us aren't naturally taught that, right? Growing up. And then you have
Right.
other experiences or other traumas that change you
Hmm.
and make it hard. And it sounds like you've had plenty of that in your lifetime.
Yep. More than my share, I think.
Mhm.
But it's still part of my life, and I still grew from it.
Right. Yeah. It was your journey, whether you liked it or not. You might as well like it because you can't.
Or be able to talk shit about it now, you know?
Yeah. Accept
If
it.
you can't talk shit about yourself, then I think you're in a big trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can't. I mean, my wife and I do that on a regular basis. There are some big blowouts we had where I acted just insanely. and we will talk about it, like to this day, because it's entertaining if you look at it in that way, like we grew from it. We're healthy, like nothing
Mhm.
bad happened, but whoa, did it go off the rails for a minute there.
Life does that.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that was also, I remember this vividly, my husband and I getting into a disagreement, and we took it into the other room, finished the disagreement, and then came back and came out laughing. And he looked at us like, what the hell was that? Like, he was like, that's how you're supposed to
That's
argue?
how you fight?
Yeah. And so it was just, I think it was a little eye-opening to him, because he was like, you guys came out laughing. Like, what is that? Someone didn't blow up and run around, or
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm used to. Things getting thrown.
Right.
believe me, we've been there.
The party is over. It's over. No, not those two.
I think the other therapeutic thing that really helped him was also my daughter being around.
Absolutely.
He was missing his kids, and she just has so much energy, and that was one of the things they've actually connected.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
So,
I love her very much.
That's wonderful. Now, do you get to see your kids now?
They're in Michigan. I'm in
Right.
Georgia. So, I mean,
They're closer to me.
I talk to them every day. Where you live?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I
you
talk
talk
to them every day. Yeah, I
Okay.
talk to them every day, and hopefully this summer I'll be able to go up there. But I haven't made any plans yet to do that. So tentative plans, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you will be able to as well, but at least keep talking, keep the communication going. So, where do you want to go from here? What are your goals? Like, where do you want to be?
I'm trying to build my business,
Okay.
which is slow, but it's coming around. And I don't know. I just be happy instead of being something wrong every day, or something's got to be wrong for it to be normal. You know, that is not, it's not a way to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're always looking for something negative, you're going to find it, but you can do the same thing with positive shit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Just to be happy. Like,
yeah. I don't need a lot.
What?
I don't need a lot of anything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Just some joy.
Yeah.
What's your business?
I am in wildlife conservation and forestry, but really what that means is I'm an, how do you want to call it?
He's a trapper.
Well, I trap animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you live up there in trapping country. You know what that's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Casey's very talented whenever it comes to understanding what animals. He went to college for it. He learned the different things about animals, how
behavior, habitat
behavior.
modification.
He's a great tracker. So if you ever need anybody, the world is like coming to an end, Casey's the person to know.
Cool. That's awesome.
I like it. You know, I started trapping when I was 10 years old, and the guy that taught me how to trap remembers his dad trapping on horseback. You know, so it goes back to when I was a kid, but you know, I didn't think I could make any money off of it when I was a kid, but turns out people need me.
Yeah.
People need me a lot. So,
especially those that are not in the country, in the suburbs, we don't want to deal with that.
No.
Yeah. Right. A critter or something.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of things that go bump in the night in your attic. People around the city can't stand that shit.
No.
They don't know what it is. They just want you to come in, get it, and get it out.
Right.
So that's what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will do my best to help you promote it in any way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I love that. So as you think back, like from everything you've been through, and what you know now and what feels good now, what advice would you tell yourself? Like
to shut up. To shut your mouth.
You didn't even hesitate, Casey. You knew exactly.
Your mouth and listen to the people that are trying to help you.
Yeah.
Just shut the fuck up.
Right. It sounds like because you didn't shut up enough, your path just led you straight to Sarah Gonnella, and she was the one to finally, shut you up.
Pretty much. You can't get a word in edgewise sometimes with her. You know that.
Yeah. She's a great listener, but
She is.
but she also,
When she has something to say, you better listen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I am overjoyed that you found each other. I know it was, when you're the helper in these situations, it feels just as good in a lot of ways, to be a part of it and to help someone. And I think you being the artistic and animal loving person, I bet you're gonna go on and help some people too, Casey.
I sure hope so. I try. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I always told him, is that I see in him more than I think sometimes he sees in himself. So we really focused on trying to get him to focus on him being the person that is doing the trapping and having his own business versus having to rely on someone else for that, because he's capable of doing that. Also focusing on the artwork and the didgeridoo. I actually see Casey continuing to blossom, and I actually see Casey's actually very in tune whenever he allows himself to be in tune. He's actually very much a healer, I think. I think he has a lot of capabilities in being able to help someone. I think that he will be surprised at how much his story and the things that he has gone through can potentially help others.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel people's moods real easy. Like, I can walk into a room and tell what's going on. If somebody, if it's uncomfortable, or if somebody's, not feeling right or whatnot, I just tune in on it. And I hate it sometimes, but I'm usually right.
That's a superpower that's often derived from trauma. So being a survivor of different traumas, that was how you survived, is assessing the people around you to see what does their mood mean? Is there a threat here? Is there something else here? I have to figure this all out.
Yeah. I mean, since I can remember, I always felt like I was responsible for how somebody else's day was, or how somebody else's mood was. And if I couldn't make that better, then I felt like I'd failed. But that's not how it is at all.
Yeah.
Took me a long time to figure that out, but I'm not responsible for anybody else's happiness. They're responsible for theirs, and I'm responsible for mine, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything I can't do anything about it. That's all there is to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a hard lesson that a lot of people still haven't figured out in life.
Yeah. I mean, and with certain people, I still feel that way, but not as much. But, that just takes time.
You're right. It does. And I found that the people that learn lessons the hardest way possible, like I feel as though I am like that, and my brothers and my biological son, my eldest son, is like that, where it takes so many knockdowns to get it right. I feel like those people are more likely to be healers once they figure it all out, because they really get it, like like the old adage, you can't feel joy without sorrow, that when you learn lessons the hard way, you've carved a new path, and you're so much stronger for it in the end.
Yep.
And that's where the healing comes in.
Yep.
Well, did you bring your didgeridoo? Because I really want to hear it.
Man, I left the house at 6:00 this morning, went to work, and realized she messaged me and said, "Don't forget the didgeridoo." And I was like, God damn it, I already did.
Yeah.
And I was going to drive back to the house, but she said
I
no.
said, don't do that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we get you do a video of yourself
I can
playing.
do that. I can do that.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Okay.
And it's
I definitely I want to share some of his artwork as well. So
yeah, it's a unique thing, and it's a part of how you healed, and I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
Will do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing and for just being here, and the way that you have described your journey, although sounds super hard and devastating at times. The way that you have risen above all of that and the strength that you have is really inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're amazing. This you were put in the path for Sarah to say some of these things, but you did all the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't have though if it wasn't for her.
Right.
That was the first thing I told him, is that I can be there for guidance, but all of this work is going to have to be from you. Like I can't do the work for you.
Yep.
It took a little while, but he did it.
A little while.
Yeah. But you did it, and you're better for it.
I am.
Yeah.
And one of the other things we really focused on as well was touch and hugs. And I'd like to end that way.
Oh, yay. Oh, I wish I was there too. Thank you. Yeah. Air hug. That's what I can't get to my kids. Air hug. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
So welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. I think Casey is an inspiration to many people that are maybe even struggling today. And I hope that you enjoyed his interview and the things that he learned and those related to you. And so I appreciate the comments that have come in. I also want to share some other things related to Casey. So I'm going to share up his artwork. So you guys can take a look at some of the things that he has done while he was doing shadow work. For me, the one on the left always reminded me of an owl, like an upside down owl. But some of these things, as you will take a look at them, some of them are just beyond beautiful to me. I just love all of the different variations. And then some of them are a little bit darker. So that shadow work, especially this one here, for example, I love this one regarding landscaped. I see a river and trees and a beautiful sunset. This one I can definitely see on the right is definitely more of that shadow work from him. And then these as well. So I believe these were people that he had in his life and just remembering them and individuals that reminded him. And so I just wanted to share some of this artwork. This isn't all of his artwork, but this is some of it. And if you guys are interested in any of these, like if this is something you would want to purchase as well, then let me know and I can help you connect with Casey. And so I want to end with Casey playing his didgeridoo. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I want to thank Casey for being vulnerable and just sharing his story. And I want to thank Cate, who's not here today, but who did the interview, for really diving in and exploring a little bit more about Casey and really unveiling the things that he went through. So thank you, everyone. Also, be sure to come back next week as we talk about intuition. And I want to wish everyone a safe Memorial Day weekend. And thank you so much.